I don't know how many of you have seen The Martian. I agree with Anita Sarkeesian that it is a pretty good movie, though I'm not a big fan of Matt Damon, who plays the lead. I've been reading the book that the movie is based on, and one scene in the book that is not in the movie is a rather touching scene about how a woman late one night is able to spot the protagonist stuck on Mars in the first place, and she is really the one who saved his life. This is what Anita Sarkeesian said about the film. Hollywood films so often encourage us to project ourselves onto white men, to see them as the representatives of universal human experiences, and are too rarely encourage us to do that with people of other races and genders. If instead it were, for instance, a woman of color rather than a white man that the Martian show people and nations coming together to save, then it might not have just been a great film, but quietly a radical one.
And as with all pop culture media, the gaming industry is playing a role in helping to shape our society, either by challenging or more often reinforcing existing values, beliefs, and behaviors.
Yes, that's right. Games clearly have an influence on society. I mean, it's obvious, isn't it, that rescuing girls will make society more sexist, while games where you
go around shooting people and ripping off their heads
will clearly make it more likely that you will kill people and rip off their heads. Is it just me, or does anyone else think that the very core of Anita's proposition here is bullshit?
And as with all pop culture media, the gaming industry is playing a role in helping to shape our society, either by challenging or more often reinforcing existing values, beliefs, and behaviors. To go around shooting people and ripping off their heads.
That the whole crusade that she's got here against games she doesn't even play is built on one single, fundamentally wrong premise.
There's nothing wrong with content analysis as long as it is done rigorously and as long as it adheres to the scientific method. So now coming back to Anita Sarkeesian, she certainly doesn't do that, right? She doesn't have a formal methodology by which she analyzes her video games. Rather, she simply cherry picks and chooses what she wants so that it fits her final victimology narrative, right? If a male character is shown shooting a woman, well, of course, this is because of hostile sexism, because of hatred toward women. If a male protagonist is shown rescuing a woman from harm, then of course that's benevolent sexism. You're basically arguing that women need to be rescued. They're damsels in distress. So to be chivalrous and gallant towards women is a form of patriarchal oppression. And so every possible state of the world leads to an accusation of patriarchal, diabolical oppression. So not only is she, in my view, addressing a rather trivial problem, if she is really concerned about tackling women's issues around the world, but the way she goes about it is completely shoddy, at least from a scientific perspective. And that's why you don't see her submitting this work to any scientific journals, because it wouldn't pass the quality control that would be required via a peer review process.
There is little doubt that Anita Sarkeesian and her radical followers won't be happy until all male writers open up their veins to them. In The Martian, we have a man who cannot escape from certain death and is saved by a woman, reversing the damsel in distress trope she painstakingly went on and on about, showing here that her protests as a pop culture critic are insatiable.
Insatiable, greedy, hungry, unable to be satisfied or appeased. Synonyms of insatiable include ravenous, voracious, unquenchable, and unappeasable. The direct antonym is satiable, capable of being satisfied. From the Latin satis, which means enough, sufficient, English has inherited the antonyms insatiable and satiable, the verbs to satisfy and to satiate, and the challenging noun satiety. To satiate means to satisfy completely or somewhat to excess. When you fill your hungry belly with a hearty meal, you are satiated with food. If you occasionally feel that stuffing your brain with more words than it can comfortably contain, then you're feeling satiated with words. The noun satiety means a state of excessive gratification, satisfaction beyond what one normally desires. Our keyword insatiable means incapable of being satiated, not able to achieve satiety, unable to be satisfied or appeased. In short, greedy, hungry, ravenous. The human animal can be insatiable in many ways. You can have an insatiable appetite for food or drink or sex. You can have an insatiable desire to make money or achieve fame. You can have an insatiable hunger for attention. You can have an insatiable longing for the way things were.